This podcast was prepared by the Digression method. The opinions expressed in this show are those of the hosts and do not reflect the view of the scientists, the Department of Education, or the United States Science Board.
Whenever life gets you down, Mrs. Brown, and things seem hard or tough, and people are stupid, obnoxious, or daft, and you feel that you've had quite enough. Just remember that you're standing on a planet that's evolving and revolving at 900 miles an hour. That's orbiting at 19 miles a second, so it's reckoned. The sun that is the source of all our power. The sun and you and me and all the stars that we can see are moving at 1,000,000 miles a day. In an outer spiral arc.
Welcome back.
Miles an hour.
We've returned. Okay. And on time. Okay.
26.
26.
And this time we have some correction.
Finally. We haven't. Nobody's told us. Remember, if you find any corrections or you got any contradicting articles, send them to the digression method at gmail.com and we'll address it for sure.
Address these questions.
We are not shy of being wrong. You're horse shit. You're. Oh, just kidding. But yeah.
Do you want to pull those up, Keith, and go over them?
Okay, real quick. Caught me off guard. Well, who's anybody got? I mean, we're on. We're live. Oh, AJ's got us covered.
Yeah.
Keep going, AJ.
What are you working on?
Well, we got some corrections from last week's episode.
YouTube. Multi-platforming right now.
I guess. I just gotta pull it up real quick. Said a couple different things. I think one was about I forget his name. Verner something. I forget his name.
Von Braun.
Yeah, Verner Maximilian Freyer von Braun. He was a later American aerospace engineer and space architect, which he did help, but I don't think he was like entirely it was his achievements that got Americans to space, because now I'm recalling that we were talking about when at the end of World War II, a lot of guys, Russia and the Allies swooped in and snagged up as many scientists and stuff as they could.
Yeah, like, come to us.
Hey, yeah.
Hey,
this is falling. You want to go with us?
Hey, listen, like, if you don't go with us, then
and
you're
that's how we got Von Braun, and then
we got a bunch of people. We got like Einstein. Yeah, it's like
we got a bunch, but we won that draft.
Well, maybe they still got some.
Terrible to speak.
Got some stuff.
And then I believe the other one's about Peggy Whitson, which was she's actually broke the record again still for the longest, it's either the longest hours in space or something like that.
I think it's just the, real quick, it just says astronaut Peggy Whitson breaks NASA's record for longest time spent in space. So she's just, one of the things, she apparently has traveled 122.2 million miles and went around the Earth 4,000 times, 4,600 times. So, yeah, that's a lot of distance she covered. But
yeah,
wow.
But in one of her return trips, which was one of the things that I was talking about.
Okay.
They, I think it was with the Soyuz capsule.
Oh, she's in one of what happened with it? See, I don't recall. I'm trying to.
There should be a link. There should be 2 links on that to comment. The first one's about the Soyuz, and then the second one is about her time in space.
Okay, I mean, we should have done this before. Because I'm like, wait a second, I'm trying to read. We're trying to do the episode.
So basically, I already talked a little bit about it on the last episode, but the they had a ballistic entry, which is bad. Like, there's been times where ballistic entry into the atmosphere has caused astronauts to die, but luckily everybody on board the Soyuz capsule survived. And what went wrong was the fact that they used explosive release mechanisms, and one of those didn't go off, and so it screwed the whole thing up. The attachments that were supposed to come off didn't come off at the right time, so the trajectory got thrown off. They had to actually go outside of the capsule to repair it, to make sure that it went off, and then not only did that, save them basically, but it also caused them to go into a ballistic entry into the atmosphere,
and then
they pretty much slammed into Earth.
Yeah, instead of going in at an angle, which is what you'd want to do to slow down, they went basically not straight down, but they were steeper than they should have. So yeah, it's like going into water. I mean, the atmosphere is heavy.
A 5 degree, just like that. Like really
No, they were at like. I get. Well, it would be 5 is really gentle. 5 is really slow. They were
but if
at
you're
like
going down.
Still, like it probably. Well, you'd have to think of it as coming to the Earth. If you were sitting on the Earth's surface, you want to. I'm guessing. I don't know. Come in at like a 45-degree angle. Let's say it sounds like they were coming in at like a 90.
No more corrections.
Well, I'm not like saying this is how it is. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm just assuming that.
No, what you would want would be a slower trajectory.
That's what I'm saying. You want like a 45, but they had like a 65 or whatever. That's kind of the gist of a ballistic entry. That's all I was trying to say. But yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of a miracle that everybody survived, and that was back in 2007. So now, 10 years later, she's broken back then she broke a record for the longest time spent in space, but she's broke it again.
She went back up and was like, all right, I'm setting another record. I'm going to be the most badass astronaut behind Neil Armstrong. And he only gets it because he's the first guy to land on another celestial body. I mean, you gotta give that guy props.
Throw some props. Unless you're that conspiracy theorist that thinks that we framed the moon landing.
Yeah, faked it.
Yeah.
I mean,
of course we did.
Yeah, I mean, if it's
but
cheaper,
this is not one
it's
of
a lot
those
cheaper.
episodes.
It's not a weigh-in. Tune in. Check out episode 25. We just did a weigh-in. Talk about aliens and stuff. But now we're episode 26. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
My episode, or my article this week was about bees, robot bees on Mars, and they'll be used as like little drones, I guess, to help map the surface, I guess.
Survey the land.
Survey Martian world before we land on it.
Oh.
So it would just be like I don't think they've quite made them yet. It's still kind of like in the, we've got a long time till we get any robot bees. But you'd basically, instead of just sending a rover, which the rovers are more expensive, take more time and energy and all this stuff, instead of just sending that and then having it like go through its shelf life or whatever, you could send the rover and then send like a swarm of these robot bees that are just, they'll have the ability to, it's not like each bee will be independent where you could just send it off and it'll just, it's fine. One bee's 50 miles away from here. It's amazing how far it's gotten. It's like, no, they'll have their certain little area that they'll be able to leave, kind of explore, and then return back to the hive and recharge and whatever that they need to do, dump data or whatever. But I just love, we talk a lot about a lot of the articles that I try to find for the Digression Method or Science Talks about stuff that I'm interested in. And when it comes to exploration and some of the stuff where I've talked about, solar panels and the radioactive battery, like, that generates its own I just love that. A radioactive, diamond that generates its own electricity. So you take a rover, and then you take, set home base down with that thing and some solar panels, and then you got your rover cruising along that has like another one of the little batteries and solar panels, then it has a swarm of little robot bees that are with it. It's like, just thinking of exploring a new planet just gets so much easier. You don't always have to set boots down on the surface, or send a couple probes there and then send a rover. It's like, no, you send your probe or just send a rover with this, and you can get so much more data just quicker. And I love it. I love it. It's great. But yeah,
The
robot
future
bees.
is near.
Yeah.
You know, I heard that the guy who was like the lead researcher on Star Trek and the lead scientist said that within our lifetime we will see warp drives.
Yeah, they
So,
say
like-
a lot of things though, and I don't believe what people say. I hope so. I hope so. What was it, Moore's law? That's
But
like
he
every
has
year
so much,
the amount of
ambition
transistors
for
increases
the future, and
exponentially.
things like this remind me of some of the things that he's talked about, because you know it's ever expansive, and it just keeps on growing and growing and growing, and it's like, you know, yeah, shoot for the stars, but also live down here on Earth where, you know, you see expansion happening at a rapid rate, and try and predict. You can't predict with absolute accuracy, but try and predict maybe where things might be going.
Oh yeah, I don't want to be a stick in the mud and be like, oh, it's not going to happen, or not ever, or even not soon. But it's just, I mean, there's been so many predictions that obviously didn't come true. I just think of my mom telling me, like, she says, and it's anecdotal evidence, not like I've seen the textbooks, but she said that when she was a kid, she remembers seeing in textbooks, like, by the year 2000 we'll have flying cars. And it's like, well,
We didn't.
we still burn gas.
We didn't quite make that jump because.
Yeah, and it's
This,
always
that, and the other thing. Private interest.
You always want to be like, well, yeah, within my lifetime, I'm going to see some really cool stuff, but you kind of can't guarantee it, and so it's like, well, don't expect it.
But
Strive for it, but don't expect it.
But we are seeing really cool stuff, which is the cool
Yeah.
thing. Like, we are enjoying an opportunity in science right now to see some crazy changes.
Or just even technology. I mean, we can sit here and talk, and rather than back in the day where if you spoke or tried to record, you couldn't record anything. Anything that was spoken was just gone to the universe. But now we can. I mean, it's cool. I'm not trashing it, but it's you just gotta keep your. Like Caleb said, it's like shoot for the stars, live on Earth.
I saw a
Dream
post
big,
on,
but don't live in the nothingness that you're not. That's not real yet, not tangible yet.
I saw a
I hope
post
so.
on
I want warp drives.
on social medias of like a teenager struggling to use a rotary dial phone, not understanding the principle, and I'm like, I guess I appreciate the fact that I can enjoy where we were that way technologically to where we are now.
Yeah, no, and we don't even actually. It's just looking at anybody that's older than us, and then you talk about cell phones or whatever. And they're like, you don't even know. It's like we get to at least understand that's like, man, we can appreciate it, but we still know people that really like I lived it firsthand. It's like we're just stepping out of that age.
Yeah.
Like
Talking about
Yeah.
going back in like technology and stuff, there was a case report by Italian archaeologists that implies around 14,000 years ago, a man had a prosthetic knife that he would use in place of his hand. Apparently, the skeleton was found in the Veneto region. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but in the Longobor cemetery. And it's remarkable to them because not only did he survive for years after the amputation of his right forearm, but he regularly used the knife-tipped prosthetic in a pre-antibiotic era. So I can't even imagine having my forearm amputated, let alone no antibiotics used. And
Yeah, no
being like,
vaccines,
Yeah, I'm gonna
no
fucking
pain
strap a knife to my
medication.
fucking forearm.
man, that's crazy.
Imagine
it
like
just freaks me out. Like, what happened? Like, he
But
got
that's-
attacked by something, or he got smashed, and then they're like, all right, amputate. And he's like, well, I need something. I can't
And they're
have
like,
enough.
"Thank
And they're like,
you."
here, we'll just shove this knife on the end. You'll be fine. He's like, all right, cool. Like, I wonder
like
if he was
that.
like a warrior.
Yeah, I like that because like that guy, like, cause you're right, it's like that pre-bionic age. So that guy, he's just walking around with a knife, and people are like, holy shit,
He's a
look at this, dude.
pre-antibiotic.
Oh, antibiotic.
Yeah,
oh.
you say because it's like, you know, back in the day, you nicked your leg.
You could die.
Yeah, you get staph or something and just die. Get a blood infection and you're gone.
What happened? Well, he tripped on a rock the other day.
He stubbed his toe, ripped his toenail off, and then stepped in some shit, and that was the end of it.
He died of old
What
age.
happened? He drank the water, and he just started shitting, and he never stopped, and he died.
He died of old age. He was only 37. Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
today, like, I was talking with one of my coworkers, and I was like, back in the day, if you got appendicitis, that was like fatal. So you think about those somebody that just started, oh, my side hurts,
And
and
they're
like, what's
like,
wrong? And then like they start having a fever.
Which?
Yeah, and then they just die. They just die. They're like, get sick, sweat, do all this other stuff, but die. It's like, oh.
It's the devil, he did it.
Yeah, or if you had a seizure, so then they kill you because you're possessed. Like, damn, dude. And this guy has a knife for a prosthetic hand. Like, man. I guess it's just another thing that I think about the past.
Do you think he like takes the prosthetic off when he sleeps, or does like he just leaves it on? He's just,
That's a good question.
He's
Did
just 24/7.
it
Was
say
it
if it was
removable?
attached?
From
Yeah.
what the article described, it sounded like he could detach it at will.
Okay.
Cool.
Like he
that's
could like
cool
like,
though. Like,
he could go to a party with like a hand that's perfectly designed to hold a drink.
yeah, exactly. I hold his cup and he's just like, sweet guys, I'm ready. Have like go to a real party and it's like a fist ready to fist pump. Do this.
He was also a very good like mandolin player, so like he'd like have it with a pick so he could play.
Or a violinist, you just hold it. No, you have to use your fingers now. Yeah, if you could have a pick attachment, it's just like a long metal or a long stick with just a pick at the end. Like, I can't palm mute, but I got this this little arm. Oh man, we need the video. We need to have some video for the podcast. That's one thing
beautiful.
we need to just.
We need a cartoon artist. That would be perfect.
Yeah, if you could do animation, hit us up and make something
animate our
funny.
shows. Go as far back as you want. If you want our
Cat's
Science
talking.
Talk episodes, by all means.
Oh man, stupid cat. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I love it.
That's awesome.
What you got, AJ?
Yeah. So I guess for my article, there is a Surgeon General advisory out that people should be aware, know how to use a drug called, and I'm gonna probably butcher this, naloxone.
If it's a drug, you're gonna butcher the name, unless you heard it on the commercial.
Yeah.
And then you your eyes cross as they were like, possible side effects are death, bleeding from the eyes, death, collapsing of the rectum, death, heart exploding, death, seizures, death. It's like, oh wow, that sounds great. That's gonna help my arthritis.
Unexpected foot loss.
It's good. Yeah, toe fungus. Like what? This stuff is for hair loss. Like what? This is a replacement for Propecia. Like what? But yeah. Oh man, my goodness, my cat's just.
But
Part
anyway,
of the
so this
episode
drug is designed to counteract the overdose of opium
Or an opiate.
or an opiate.
Okay, that's. I mean, there's an opiate epidemic going on currently in America.
Well, they list like
so
in
that's not a bad thing to
In
have.
2016,
No wonder
they
the
said
Surgeon General's like, hey.
42,292 people died in an opioid overdose in the United States alone.
You know, you hear stats like that, and it's 42,000. You're like, well, there's like 300 million people, give or take, in America.
Just well, sure.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like in America, so we've got like 300 million people as a population. But to think of 42,000 people in a year, it's only 365 days in a year. That's a lot of people dropping dead from heroin overdoses and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Right?
wow, dude, that's a lot of people.
But apparently this is something that you either administer through, like, a nose spray or, like, an injector, like an EpiPen.
See, then I would definitely... I don't know anybody that's using opiates, or at least not that I know they are. I'd rather have the spray, because needles just... I can take needles. People, I mean, go to the dentist, they're shooting needles into your gums, which is... I mean, I can take that. That's fine.
Those quick injectors...
Stick another person, like...
Those quick injectors don't look like needles.
Yeah, they do have the little plastic over it, so
Yeah.
when you slam it in their leg, it just does it. Like,
Yeah.
I get that, but it's still... There's something about, like... I don't know. It's like a phobia or something. I just can't... There's this one guy that was like old school guy up in the North Pole or up at the South Pole, whatever. He's in far away from home, old school days. He has appendicitis. He cut his own side open and reached in and cut out his own appendix. And the thought of like sticking myself with needles or like digging around in my flesh, I can't do it.
No,
like I can't. It
I'm
makes
dying.
me squirm. It freaks me
dying.
out. I was like, when I heard that, I was like, I'm dead. I'd be dead. That guy's a badass. I'd be dead.
Yeah, that guy.
Hopefully he had kids, because that's a person who gets to keep their genes going. If that happens to me, I'm too weak.
Yeah, sorry.
My genes don't get to propagate.
It's predetermined. Like, I'm not committed to that. Sorry.
So it's just the nose spray, though.
I mean, that's like right after you do that, you find a woman to procreate with.
Yeah,
there you go. I have good genes.
You're like dying as you're dying from your appendicitis.
She
comes in, I'm a doctor. Can I help you? You're like, well, it's too late now, I guess. Like, shit. That was so close. But so, what's that drug called again?
Naloxone. Naloxone.
That's pretty cool, though, because you consider like one of the biggest problems as far as drugs go in the country is opiates.
Yeah,
so we have a way to combat people from dying. I mean, and that at least they can get the help they need. You know, if they go through that experience, I would imagine they'd be like, "Holy fuck, I almost died."
It's temporary, so it blocks it for about 20 to 90 minutes. You
shouldn't have to die. Like, for something like doing a drug or something, it's like, you know, you're getting messed up. I mean, it's not good, and you make your own decisions, so you get yourself in your own trouble, but it's like, you know, you shouldn't have to die from just getting fucked up. And it's like...
Well, everybody makes mistakes, but like...
Yeah, it's like, well, what if you change... Oh, they ended up dying, but it's like, they could have actually, if they lived, they could have... I mean, it just
you want to give
sucks.
them that chance.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if I know you're doing it or whatever, and I can get that stuff around,
for somebody like
I'll stab them with the needle. Just like whatever.
Well, especially for a drug like that, where like sometimes a first time is too much.
Yeah.
Because like you just took too much for doing it.
Or like what happened to Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols? He did a lot of heroin, whatever. Supposedly killed Nancy or killed her. And then went to jail, came back, and then got out of prison, and then went to a party and was like, I can do the same amount of heroin. It's like, not after you've gone clean, after you've gone sober, or you've at least been off of it for a while, you lose your tolerance. And so he came back, party, died. And it's like, well, you could have given him, possibly given him that stuff, which this was a long time ago. I don't know the year he died, but it wasn't when this stuff was around.
That was like 78, 79,
yeah, I was going to say, a long time ago. So it's like, you know, somebody like that, you could just hit him with that stuff, call the ambulance, and then get them the help they need. Because I don't know what states it is in, but I think it might be in Oregon. You can call the ambulance, and you're not responsible. Or I think you can even do like in Pineapple Express when that guy gets stabbed. When T.J. Miller gets stabbed and Jonah Hill takes him and drops him off at the front of the hospital and runs away. And he's like, they didn't even drop me off at the door. They didn't even take me to the door. It's like, you can do that legally.
Get him to the Greek.
Oh, Get him to the Greek. Yeah, okay.
You can do that legally.
What movie did I say?
It's so funny, though, too, because he's like...
Yeah, it's Get him to the Greek. Yeah,
I'm looking for a particular guest. His name is spelled H-E-R-O...
And his face.
Can you find that guest for
he just kind of goes like, as he's like spelling it out, as TJ Miller's face like, huh? And then just, yeah, you think you fucking, that's so funny. But yeah, you can do that legally in some places.
And you ask me for drugs, and that's the way you do it? You pretend it's a fucking guest name?
Are you retarded?
Yeah, I know him. Meet me in the back in about 20 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, poor TJ's been going through some stuff lately. I guess he got arrested for something about saying there was like a bomb, or he's been in some trouble.
Damn.
Poor TJ Miller, but we don't talk about popular. We're science.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you can drop people off, call the ambulance, and you're not responsible if somebody's like dying. So hit them with that stuff. Call the ambulance. Hit them with that stuff. Take them there. Dump them off.
Yeah.
Pick that shit up at when you're doing your needle exchange. Hopefully you're doing the needle exchange, because you don't need to be passing.
Yeah. And that's not every
You're gonna do
state,
that
like...
stuff. Yes, that's very true. I mean, not every state's like accommodates intravenous drug users or just addicts or whatever. But I mean, if people got your problems and you're not gonna stop, then might as well help. Because with the needle stuff, I mean. You want to use your own dirty needle a bunch of times over, that's messed up. You're going to be hurting yourself with a dull needle, but it's when you share needles and stuff and start passing around diseases where it's like, okay, I mean, if you're going to do it and I can't stop you, then I can't stop you, but please just take this clean needle, give me your dirty needle, take this naloxone or whatever it is.
I was looking to see like where you can get it.
Just don't die, unless you want to. I mean, then
like you can get either a
Don't
doctor
do it.
prescription, or for some pharmacies they can just like give it to you without a doctor's prescription. So so like a pharmacy would be like the best place to go and try to get it.
I hope they just try to implement that into stuff like I'm talking about, like with the needle exchange. Where be like, hey, we'll give you free needles, but we'll
said
teach how to
community
use
involvement things, and that's exactly what the needle exchange is.
I'm totally down with
So
that.
like anything that's in a community that is like helping heroin prevention or heroin like recovery.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
exactly. They're probably the place to go.
I'm down with not allowing anybody to do any of that stuff, but at the same time, it's like if you're gonna do it and you can't stop you, just don't be dumb. And I mean, I don't know. It's hard to talk about when I've never had that problem, thankfully. So
yeah,
it just sucks. But hopefully they use this stuff and stay alive. It's a weird way to end the episode. I mean, we're at the end. I don't know if I want to.
We don't have to end it on
I don't. I was like, remember, exchange your dirty needles.
A time to reflect.
Oh man.
What we were talking about in the beginning of the episode, though, is technology, and I know last episode we were talking about people weren't as dumb as we may think they are, or were.
Yeah, dude,
So like.
That was something that stuck in my head, was like they're retarded.
Heavy, like, they carved somehow into these stones, these intricate, like there's almost every animal represented on these stones at Göbekli Tepe. And not only that, but there's several different types of like humanoid looking figures. And it just makes you wonder what tools were they using at the time in order to build.
One thing for me, like I always just assumed like, there weren't like schools around, so people in like super olden times, like before Rome was even considered even a thing, like it wasn't even a thing. It was like way before that. Like I don't even know the ages because it's so long ago. Like the Syrians and the Babylonians and stuff. It's like I figured they're dumb. It's like no, they had cities that had 1 million plus people in it, and most of them were literate. It's like that's impressive. I mean, that's where we're about not having hubris in being a human, but it's like, man, we've been kicking it on here as a society or with societies for quite a while, and like that's just impressive. For like what you talked about today, guy, no antibiotics that we have, but he had a prosthetic arm. Prosthetic hand, knife hand, like that's. And they weren't done.
I'd like to believe they were just like us, but with a little less technology.
Yeah, they just didn't have what we had. Either some of them had none or they had very little, but they made it work for the better.
Like if we were trying to do like a podcast back then, it'd be like us three like sitting.
We would be orators
on some stones.
We'd be orators at like the play at the amphitheater, and we'd be, you're talking about science and life and what water is and what it's and all that stuff, and they were all wrong, of course. But
we've been watching the stars,
really,
and
that's one thing about old people that we have lost. They all knew the stars because it's how you tracked. That's how you navigated. That's how you tracked the seasons. Because they probably had a calendar. They had to have had a calendar of some sort.
I love February.
Like,
this is my favorite.
Yeah, the seafaring people.
With their navigational charts to,
that's so impressive. To cross the Atlantic Ocean to get here, or even just to go
based
anywhere.
Only upon star charts.
Yeah, paper. They didn't have GPS like we got. Or even just. I drive from the Dallas area, or here where we record this, out in Old Doofer, a little teeny tiny town. I drive from here to Portland, for the last while. I'm going to school, so I drive twice a week. And as I do it, I just think of Lewis and Clark, and it's man, as you drive, a lot of people forget that even up on the hills and stuff around here, where there's all these rolling hills, there was still an awful lot of work to the ground to make it level to have the road on it, and there were entire hills that were just chopped clean through, or when they were running railroads back in the day, they would just dynamite through a hill, and it's you take that for granted. You would have to, I just can't imagine some of the places
to build a trestle,
to get over it, or it's
and the sheer engineering behind that too,
Yeah, they weren't dumb. They
So
may not be able to do calculus like we can now, or trigonometry all the time. But it's like Caleb just said, they had engineering capabilities. They were not stupid.
So the thing that I think helps us is that these were really smart people, but in order to get places, in order to communicate, it took more extreme measures. So what it is that
it took more effort.
Yeah, the society we have now, I think why we see a lot of these kind of growths in different departments is that we don't have to walk 2 days to tell somebody about this new thing that we saw, or we have to walk 45 minutes to a lab.
We have instant gratification.
We can drive there.
Yeah, we have,
and
not only that, but we have the internet where we can instantly share data.
Or
exactly,
we don't have to we don't have to memorize multiplication. Man, I'm messing up my words at the end of this. Multiplication tables, because we have calculators in our pockets that can, we're talking about. You can talk to somebody immediately, go on the internet, talk to somebody, transmit data, and a lot of it too. A lot of data. We live in a crazy time.
So the idea then is that they were just as smart as us, but they had less time.
They had the same amount of time, but their free time,
was
probably as they were sleeping.
Exactly.
That was it.
Free time.
They had to go grab their water
Yeah.
and grab their food and harvest their food. People. One thing I think of, hear about people, they had jobs and stuff back then. You had jobs, but it wasn't like, oh, you just work at your job and you make a ton of money, all you're set. It's you still struggled.
A lot of people did the hard jobs, being a sailor, or going down into mines, or working on the industrial floors and making products, making
kids had to work.
Hand,
lots of kids died in early America.
Yeah, before child labor laws.
Yeah, dude, lots of kids died. It was fucked up. And I imagine that has been forever. That's not new. It's not like they just started. We've got it easy, and I tip my hat to old school people, to all of them. I'm
they built it.
You
built it.
Thank you. It's thanks for putting up with utter crap, just so I could.
I used to have a captain when I was studying to be a sailor that said, would acknowledge the old days, and he said something along the lines of, when the ships were made of wood and the men were made of iron.
Yep, I've heard that before. I think that's think it's a good way to end
That's
it.
a good
That's
way
a
to
better
end
way
it.
to end
That's
it.
a great way to
We'll end it with appreciate the past and give them props. Back when the men were made of iron. Thanks for tuning in, and see you guys next week.
Have a good week.
Peace. Hey everybody, you can contact us at thedigressionmethod@gmail.com, soundcloud.com/thedigressionmethod, facebook.com/digressionmethod, patreon.com/digressionmethod, twitter.com/digression541, YouTube, Google Play, and iTunes, The Digression Method.
The universe itself keeps on expanding and expanding in all of the directions it can whiz. As fast as it can go, at the speed of light, 12 million miles a minute, and that's the fastest speed there is. So remember, when you're feeling very small and insecure, how amazingly unlikely is your birth. And pray that there's intelligent life somewhere out in space, 'cause there's bugger all down here on Earth.